Are you able to just quickly provide a quick overview in terms of the 6 stages of the S-curve?
Yeah,
please?
Absolutely. So I know I kind of glossed over this earlier. So let me do a little bit of a primer, and then we'll go into the 6 stages. So whenever you asked me earlier why I wrote this book, another reason I wrote this book is I'd made this, what some might argue was a vast intuitive leap of applying this not just to products, but to individuals. And part of the purpose of this book was to look at the neuroscience, to look at the biology, to look at the psychology, and make sure that the research backed up what I was, my hypothesis. And in fact, it does. And so whenever you start something new, you start a new job, you start a new role, you start a new day, your brain has this hypothesis about what is it going to take for me to be successful here? What's it going to take for me to get to the top of the mountain? And so when you first start something, you're at the launch point of the curve. So that's the first phase. Your brain is making a lot of predictions, many of which are inaccurate. And so your dopamine drops. And so as your dopamine's dropping, you're also in this place where you're trying to figure out, you're trying to map the terrain that you're on, look at what the base of this mountain looks like. So your brain is literally making memories. It is therefore cognitively very taxing. So you're exhausted. And oh, by the way, you're doing this new thing. So your identity is like, well, who am I if I'm not who I was? So that's the launch point of the curve. Now, on the launch point of the curve, I talk about 2 different phases. There's the explorer phase, and then there's the collector phase. And the explorer phase is, hey, I landed on this curve. I didn't expect to be here, or I did expect to be here, but now I have to decide, do I want to stay here? And so you're exploring, you're asking yourself questions like, is this curve in sync with my identity? Is it hard, but not too hard? And just, do I want to do this? And you're exploring, and then you're going to make a decision. No, actually, I don't. I'm going to go find another curve because I got pushed here. So I'm going to go do something new. But you might decide, yeah, I do want to stay here. And so now you go to the collector phase. And if you're thinking about products, this is like the product market fit. Yes, this is the product that I want. But the collector phase is there a market fit? Like, yeah, I want to be on this curve, but in fact, will it work? So I can decide, I want to be a UFC fighter, right? I might want to do that. It might be in sync with the identity that I aspire to have, but the ecosystem is probably not working in my favor. There's probably not a great product market fit. So I'll collect the data, the quantitative data, the qualitative data, and probably decide, no, that's not going to work. Or yeah, let's do this. So that's the launch point. The emotional part of this curve is that you're going to feel thrilled. You're going to feel terrified. You're going to feel overwhelmed, discouraged, impatient. So again, I talked about the emotional arc of growth. All of those things are happening at the launch point of the curve. And so, so that helps you when you do something new and you're having all those feelings to say, oh, this doesn't mean that I can't be good at it. It just means that I'm doing something new. All right. So everybody, we want to zoom back out. We're going to go back to the major part. We talked about the launch point. We dove into that, but now we're going to go to the sweet spot. So here's what's happening in the sweet spot. So in your mind, you want to picture the steep, sleek part of the curve. And in the sweet spot, what's happening is your brain is running that predictive model and your predictions are now becoming increasingly accurate. And as they're increasingly accurate, you're getting lots of dopamine, lots of upside surprises. And so you're like, this is amazing. I love being here. You feel exhilarated. You feel this thing of it's hard, but not too hard. It's easy, but not too easy. And this is the place, unlike at the launch point where growth was happening, it felt slow because of all those experiences you were having. In the sweet spot, growth is fast and it feels fast. So that's the second part of the curve. And that's why at the launch point, it's hard to get started. And the sweet spot, once you get started, it's hard to stop. And then in mastery, this is the third part of the curve. Your predictive model, you've figured it out. You know exactly what you're doing, but you're no longer getting dopamine. You're bored. You need a challenge. Growth now has become slow. So you've got slow at the launch point, fast in the sweet spot, slow in mastery. That is how you grow. It traces the emotional arc of growth. And when you understand what it looks like, then you know where you are, you know what's next.